everyone, this is Heather. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I have a card tutorial for you, and we're going to be making this fun little mermaid card using some digital stamps. Quite a few years ago, one of my favorite rubber stamp lines was Sweet November, and they were carried by CC Designs, and they stopped making them, and I was really sad. I had a lot of them. I love them. I still use them all the time. And then recently I came across 7 Kids Crafts is carrying digital versions of stamps from Sweet November, and I love the design. They've got lots of great fantasy images like fairies and mermaids and centaurs, and just lots of really cute images. I really love their style and their design. So I picked up a couple of the newest images from their latest release, and I've got the mermaid. Her name is Talise, and then I have the little seagull, and his name is Gully. So I'm going to be using a really awesome coloring technique, and part of it I learned from Simon Hurley. For many years I have used colored pencils and Gamsol blending solution to color in my stamped images, but Simon had this wonderful idea, and he took an alcohol ink blending pen. This is made by Tim Holton Ranger. It comes empty, and instead of putting alcohol solution in it, he put his Gamsol in it to use it as a blending pen, and it is fantastic. If you're not familiar with him, I will put a link to his blog in the description box down below. I think this technique makes blending of your pencils a lot quicker and easier. So there are instructions on the pen. I won't really go through it, but basically you just want to take a pair of tweezers and pull out the nib, and then you just pour your solution in. And then I did need to let mine sit for a little while just to make sure that the solution kind of permeated both of the tips. This has a fine tip and a brush tip, and you can use standard Gamsol, which is put out from Inky Antics, or you can also go to the craft store and pick up some odorless mineral spirit. This I just picked up at Michael's. It's Mona Lisa, and it says odorless paint thinner, and it's basically the same thing, and you can get, you know, quite a big bottle of it. So for my cardstock base, I just have this really pretty lime green cardstock. It's textured. I've just cut it an 8.5 by 11 sheet in half, scored and folded it. I also have this pretty textured paper that sort of looks like sand. I thought that was kind of nice and beachy. And then with my computer and printer, I have printed off my digital images. I don't have a really fancy printer. It's just an HP Envy Photo 6200, but I think it does a really nice job. I just set it to a matte presentation paper, and I just printed this out on just regular 110-pound cardstock. And then I've also just got another little scratched piece of paper to clean my blender pen off with. So I'm going to start off coloring my little gull, and today I'm using Prisma Colored Pencils. They're my favorite pencil. I've used them for a really long time. I find that they have a high wax content to them, so they blend really nicely. So for my little gull, I'm using Putty Beige and Cool Gray. So I'm going to go in with the Putty Beige, and you definitely want to use really light strokes so that you don't get a very scratchy look. Have a nice sharp pencil, and I'm just going to go around and add a little bit of shading and shadowing because he's kind of mostly white, but I wanted to add just a little bit of shadow with the putty. And now I'm going to go in with Cool Gray, and I'm going to add that to his wing. Again, just light pressure, just filling that in. A little bit down his tail and the other wing. And I'm going to pick up my black, and I'm going to color in the tips of his tail and his wing, and also his little pupils. Now that I've got the color laid down, I'm going to start off with the fine tip on my blender pen and the lightest color. And I'm just going to blend that putty color out towards the body. And now I'm going to move on to the wing, which is the medium color, and pull that in with the black. And with the black and this gray, I think you can really tell how nicely those two colors blend in together. And I really like that you can lay all your color down at once and then go over top with the blender pen and just blend it all together. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more of that medium gray on his belly and just blend that out. So this is where my scratch piece of paper comes in handy. You could use a paper towel, but I find cardstock just works a little bit better. So in between your colors, you just want to run the tip of your marker back and forth just to get any of that color off. And once it starts coming out clear, you're good to go on to the next color. So for his beak and his feet and the inside of his little eye, I'm using a goldenrod. Just filling that in and going over with the blender pen and smooth all that out. So that's my gull colored, really fast, really simple. Again, I'm gonna clean off my blender pen and I'm gonna move on over to my little mermaid. While I have this goldenrod, I'm gonna do the starfish in her hair, her little bikini top, and also the starfish that's on the rock. Now, same thing, just gonna go in and blend and soften that color. So I've cleaned off my blender pen and I'm going to use the exact same two grays for the rock that I used on the gull. So I'm really not using too many different colors of colored pencil. So again, with just really light strokes, I'm coloring the entire rock in with the putty. Now I'm going in with the cool gray and I'm just going to add my shading and shadowing. So I'm just kind of following along the lines of this stamp. So just really loose, soft strokes. It's very easy to do. When you have a larger surface like this, you can switch over to the brush nib and go over that really quickly. And if you want, you can definitely go in and you don't need to wait. You can go in and add a little bit more shading and shadowing or any of the other colors you want and just continue to build that up. I'm also going to be taking this darker gray and coloring in my little barnacles. And then the last step with this set of gray is the little puka shells that she's got in her hair. So now that I'm done coloring in my rock, I'm going to be moving on to her flesh tone, and I'm starting off with peach. And exact same thing, I'm just gonna lightly fill in all over her skin with this light peach. I am going to avoid her eyebrows and her eyes. So now that I have the peach tone laid down, I am going to go ahead and blend this out before I lay my shading and shadowing in, because I want it to be a little bit more of a standout instead of just totally blending those two colors in together. I really recommend just kind of playing with, with layering your colors and see, do you want to blend out the top layer? Do you want to mix all your colors in together? And just see what works well for you. So I'm just blending that peach out. So I love how quick and easy it is just to get that nice smooth color. And now I'm going in with blush pink and I'm going to color in her lips. And I'm going to give her some really heavy cheek color. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go over here to my little seagull. I'm going to give him a nice little cute pink cheek too. And then I'm just going to continue on using this as my shadow. So just kind of under areas where I'd like it to be a little bit darker. And it gives her skin this nice pinkish tone. So I hope you can see the difference between those two pink tones. And I'm just going to go in with my blender brush and just blend that in. So that finishes off my skin tone. I've left her cheeks and her lips pretty dark. So now I'm moving on to her tail, and I'm starting off with lime green. Same as before, I'm just gonna fill in her entire tail with this pretty lime green color. Now that that's all filled in, I'm going in with the spring green. I'm just gonna add some extra color down kind of along the base and underside of her tail. And as you can see, kind of at first glance, those colors really don't seem like they work that well together. But once you go in with the blender, it really just pulls those two in together and makes them work. So try different shades of color that you might not think go well together. You might be really surprised at how well this blender pen will mix those two colors together. So again, just a reminder, I'm going in between colors back over to my scratch paper and just cleaning off those tips. So next, with the lighter of the greens that I used on the tail, I'm just going to give her some pretty green eyes. And now I'm ready to move on to her hair, and yeah, I am a sucker for Disney movies. Little Mermaid is one of my all-time favorites, so I definitely have a propensity to want to color mermaid hair red. So I'm starting off with a carmine red, and again, just filling in all of her hair. I'm also going to do her eyebrows as well. And now that I've loosely filled her hair in with that pretty carmine, I'm going in with crimson, and I'm just going to kind of follow along her hairline and kind of have it be darker close to her hairline, and then pull that color out along some of those sections of her hair. Again, just add some shading and shadowing. So I've just kind of followed along some of those stamp lines with the darker red. Again, going to go in with the large tip and just kind of blend that in together. When I do get a little bit closer to some of the smaller areas, then I'll switch over to that smaller nib and just blend all that in together. So here's her hair finished, and the last coloring that I'm going to add is with some turquoise, and I'm just going to go around these kind of water lines and just sort of follow along and just add a little bit of color around there. And I do want to kind of pull that out. Just use really light, loose strokes. Just kind of follow along this stamped image. And once again, I've cleaned the tip off, and I'm just going to go in and blend that out. And I think that makes such a nice, soft, pretty water look. So here's my finished coloring. I absolutely love this technique. It makes for a really quick and easy coloring pencil technique. As you can hear in the background, I am shaking up some all-purpose ink. This is Frost White from Tsunico, and I wanted to add just a little bit of shimmer and shine to my mermaid's tail and the water. So I have got just a bristle brush, just like a pouncing brush, and I'm just going to kind of stick it in the top of my jar here. I'm going to lay a little bit of a mask down with a post-it note just so that I don't get this everywhere. I'm not too concerned if a little bit of the ink kind of goes off. It just adds like a nice little sparkle. So I hope that that will show up on camera, but it adds such a pretty sheen, shimmer, and shine to her tail. And I'm just going to continue on and add a little bit of this along the bottom so it just kind of looks like foam all around her tail and the rock. So I really hope that that's showing up on camera, but that just adds such a pretty sparkle and sheen to it. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. So now with some tape runner, I'm just going to adhere this sand colored panel, which has been cut to 5 1/4 by 4, to my card base. I've trimmed my little gull away, and I'm just going to use my scissors and just cut him out and just leave a little bit of a white border. So with my scissors, I've just cut my little gull out. I brought my paper trimmer over, and I think I forgot to mention earlier, I just used my photo editing software just to adjust the size of my stamp so that they would fit on my card front. I'm just going to take my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to trim this down so that it's 3 1/4 by 5. And what I like to do is usually just take a little piece off one end, turn it around, take another little piece off. I know it might seem kind of silly, but with digital stamps, it's kind of hard to, you know, get them exactly where you want them on a piece of paper. So this is just what works well for me. So now that I have my panel trimmed down, I'm going to stamp my words, and this says "We Mermaid for Each Other." I think it's really cute and works really nicely with this set, and it is from a Lawn Fawn set called Mermaid for You. I'm just using black memento ink. I'm just going to stamp this in the upper right hand corner of my panel. And now I want to add a couple of extra little touches, so I'm using a white Uno Signaball gel pen. I'm going to add just a couple of little shine marks to the eyes of my seagull, a couple little lines on the starfish, on the inside of the barnacles, and also just a few little shine marks around her hair, and then a little bit of white on the puka shells as well. And now with some tape runner, I'm just going to adhere this front panel to my card. I've applied a little bit of foam tape to the back of the cute little gull. I'm going to have him kind of sitting off the side of the rock so that she's looking up at him. Next, I wanted to add some pretty sequins. I just have these pretty pale blue sequins. And so I'm just going to scatter some glue dots around and just apply a sequin to each of those glue dots randomly along the front of my card. So now that I've added some sequins, here's our finished card. I really hope you enjoyed this colored pencil technique. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to check out my channel. I have lots of other card tutorials and product reviews for you, and I hope you have a splashy day. This is Heather. Bye.